why you're not lazy, and how to break free. If only it were that easy to succeed, right? My name's Sigurd Stubsjoen. I'm a retired psychologist, but I'm not retired from transformational business. I spent the last 4 decades helping people unlock performance, heal emotional blocks, and step into the lives they actually want to live. And today, I want to talk to you about a word that haunts many of us who are high performers: lazy. You've probably used it to describe yourself many, many times. Why can't I just get it done? I must be lazy. But I want to offer a radical reframe. You are not lazy. You are overwhelmed. And that distinction could change everything. In the next 30 minutes, I'll show you. And if you stick with me till the end, you'll receive a free gift. I'll show you the hidden patterns behind procrastination, mental fatigue, and indecision. How your stress response sabotages even your best plans. While your coping strategies like Netflix, alcohol, or even productivity hacks might be making it worse. And most importantly, how we're going to work on all of this over the next 90 days together. Are you ready? Okay, let's begin. First, I want to dismantle a myth. Laziness isn't a personality trait. It's a label we slap on behavior we don't really understand. And most often, that behavior is just a symptom of overwhelm. We've been taught to think of laziness as a personality flaw. But what I've seen again and again is this. What we label as laziness is usually a protective response to stress. Let me break it down into 4 core patterns I see in my clients, many of whom are creatives, professionals, and leaders just like yourself. The first one I want to look at is mental fatigue. Imagine you're a high-powered computer with 50 tabs open. One of them is playing music, a few are frozen. You're trying to run a Zoom call, edit a video, and respond to messages on Slack. That's what mental fatigue feels like. Your brain's working memory, the RAM of your mind, gets overwhelmed when too many tasks, emotions, and expectations are being juggled. And here's what's surprising. Mental fatigue often hits intelligent, driven people harder because you can handle more, you take on more until the system fries. At that point, what looks like laziness is actually your brain hitting a neurological fuse box. You shut down because you've been on for too long. Symptoms like forgetfulness, low focus, scrolling endlessly, blank stares at the screen. You know what it looks like. I'm running on empty. Think of your mind like a smartphone that won't charge properly. The modern world throws constant demands at us. Decisions, notifications, meetings, endless tabs open in your mind all the time. Does this sound familiar? One of my clients, a talented entrepreneur named Lisa, described it perfectly. It felt like my brain was constantly buffering. I knew exactly what needed to be done, but I just couldn't start. What feels like laziness is actually your brain going into power saving mode. Underneath mental fatigue is often the freeze response. Your nervous system shuts down to protect you from burning out completely. It's not weakness, it's biology. And that leads us into decision paralysis. You might have 10 great ideas, but you don't know where to start. Have you ever stood in front of the fridge for 5 minutes and walked away and you forgot what you were going to do there? Or maybe you've been trying to work on the perfect productivity tool, but never got around to implementing it. That's not time management problems. That's a flight or fight response masquerading as indecision. Does this resonate with you? And here's the thing. Your body treats decisions like potential threats. A former executive I coached, Thomas, struggled with this for years. Every decision felt monumental, even small ones. It was exhausting. Some people feel angry and try to force a decision. In other words, they're fighting. Others get anxious and retreat. In other words, they're in flight mode. And many of us We just shut down completely. We freeze and we often blame ourselves and say, oh, I'm just a lazy person, rather than understanding that procrastination is actually a stress response. This isn't your fault. It's ancient wiring. But here's the good news. It can be rewired, and I'm here to help you make this happen. Let's look at emotional avoidance. Here's the truth most people don't like hearing. You're not avoiding the task. You're avoiding how you anticipate the task is going to make you feel. Emails remind you of the pressure you are under. Recording the video reminds you you have to get it done. Even planning a vacation triggers guilt about not being productive. So what can we do? Oftentimes we just end up going numb. We clean the house. We scroll Instagram. We watch just one more episode of that series that we promised ourselves we'd only watch one episode of. And here's the kicker. You don't need more discipline. You need to become emotionally fluent. You need to understand your avoidance is not a failure, but an emotional protection against stress. Avoidance is one of the most intelligent yet costly strategies we use. Why? Because it works, at least temporarily. We avoid discomfort, uncertainty, or difficult conversations. And for a brief moment, we feel relief. But avoidance traps us in a negative cycle, preventing growth and progress. Have you ever noticed how tasks you avoid always seem to become more daunting over time? Think about it. You're not avoiding the tasks. You're avoiding how you think the task is going to make you feel. Fear of failure, fear of criticism, even fear of success are some of the common issues. Understanding emotional avoidance as a stress response is crucial. It's not about willpower, it's about emotional resilience. I worked with Anna, a brilliant artist who constantly avoided exhibiting her work because of fear of judgment. Once we identified the root of her emotional triggers, she finally felt free to share her art and thrived. Let's look at perfectionism and how perfectionism is a disguise. This one's tricky because perfectionism often looks like ambition. But here's a truth bomb. Perfectionism is fear dressed up in a suit and tie, like myself. I want you to try this sentence on. Perfectionism is just fear wearing a suit and tie. When I was working with high performers, they don't say, I'm scared. They said, I'm not ready yet. Perfectionism sounds smart. I need to prepare more. It's not the right time. Let me tweak the offer. Let me research a little bit more. But underneath that, a fear of visibility, a fear of failure, a fear of shame, or some other specific fear. So you over research, you overthink, you end up delaying. This is a stress response. It's flight in disguise. We run from imperfection. We run from a judgment. We fear others judging us. We fear a failure. We fear wasting our time. Can you relate to this? So instead of taking action, we research endlessly, plan obsessively, and delay indefinitely. Perfectionism is just procrastination made pretty, driven by the same stress circuits as avoidance. A former client, Mark, delayed launching startups for years. Once we recognized his perfectionism as fear, he launched within months and found success he never thought possible. You're not lazy. You're self-protective, but that protection is costing you real progress. Let's go deeper and understand what is really going on. The fight, flight, or freeze response, or our stress in our body. When stress hits, we typically do one of three things. We want to fight. You feel angry, irritable, and controlling. You try to power through. Healthy anger might be expressed more as I am completely determined to succeed no matter what might be in my way. Flight. You feel anxious and scared. You avoid, distract, and lose yourself in endless scrolling. Overthinking might lead to anxiousness, but it can also be a way of avoiding disaster. Freeze. You shut down completely. You procrastinate. You go numb. This is a very important stress response and can be used in a healthy way by learning to take power naps, meditation, or self-hypnosis. Let me reiterate. These aren't weaknesses. They're ancient survival strategies. Does this match your experience? Our nervous system can't differentiate between genuine threats and everyday stresses like emails and deadlines. Unless we consciously work with these responses, they keep sabotaging our performance. I want to explore more about the hidden coping mechanisms. Let's be honest. We all have strategies for dealing with stress. Some drink wine nightly, some binge Netflix, some immerse themselves in books and games or online distractions. There's no shame here. These strategies temporarily soothe your nervous system, but they don't solve the underlying problem. They numb instead of nourish. Every single pattern I just described is rooted in your autonomic nervous system. And this part of your biology that controls your unconscious response to stress. Here's how it breaks down. Fight. You feel irritated, pushy, overly controlling. You try to prove to yourself and you try to power through. You get angry with yourself and others. Flight. You distract yourself. You avoid. You get busy. You're doing things that don't really matter. Freeze. You shut down. You stop. You scroll. You numb out. Your nervous system does not know the difference between a client's email and a tiger. It reacts the same way. And that's why mindset alone isn't enough. You need tools that regulate the body, the emotions, and the mind. And we're going to work through them one by one every week. In future videos, we'll unpack healthier coping strategies with compassion and practical guidance. Let me ask you something. How often do you grab your phone when you're stressed? Pour a glass of wine after a long day? Put on a show when you know you should be doing something else? These aren't signs of failure. They are signs of self-soothing. Alcohol, books, gaming, binge watching, they all trigger the same relief systems. They activate dopamine. They shift your attention away from threat. They work until they don't. Over time, you need more of the coping mechanism to feel the same relief. And here's the irony. The more overwhelmed you are, the harder it becomes to do the things that would actually help. We'll be dedicating full episodes to healthy versus unhealthy coping, including how to replace numbing with nourishing, how to reset your dopamine baseline, how to build a nervous system that's resilient, not reactive. You don't need to quit everything. You just need to reclaim agency. What's next? Let's look at systems for sustainable change. So now you're probably wondering, what can I actually do about all this? Over the next 90 days, I'll share weekly tools right here on social media, including LinkedIn, TikTok, and YouTube, providing strategies and solutions proven to help countless others like yourself. And here's what I want you to know. You can change. Your brain is plastic. Your patterns are not your personality. Your story can evolve. Over the next 90 days, I'll be guiding you through the exact journaling practices I give my private clients, how to stop negotiating with your inner critic, energy and sleep protocols, how to stop leaking your focus and get things done no matter what. And finally, how to feel powerful again, empowered. You don't need another hack. You need a framework that works with your biology, your psychology, and your humanity. If you made it this far, you're not just curious, but you're committed to learning. So I want to offer you something completely free, a free 30-minute coaching session with me. In that session, we'll explore and find out, what are your real goals? What is your number one energy leak? Map out your current stress response patterns. Show you one personalized action item to start making this shift immediately. There's no pressure, no pushy sales, just clarity. If you want to go deeper, we can talk about my 3-tier coaching program. But this call is about you. You can find the link in the description or visit my website. Spots are limited because I'm only going to offer this for 20 people within the next 90 days. Next week, we'll talk about why complaining might be killing your momentum and how to reclaim your emotional power. Remember, you're not broken, you're just not optimized yet. See you soon. Thanks for your attention.